last night, me and a bunch of the other content creators were able to hop on a Skype call with the devs and ask some of the questions that we've collected from the community as well as some of our own. Now, this was a call with the devs who were primarily in China, or were exclusively in China, actually. And we were having to do a lot of this through translation, and obviously there's a lot that can kind of get lost there. The call was about an hour and a half long. There were some technical difficulties. So today what I want to do is just summarize some of the high points that I took away from this, things I'm excited about, things that I'm a little leery about, kind of see where we're going from here. One other quick thing before I get started. This is going to just be me talking, obviously with this being a pretty recent development. We don't have images, we don't have artwork, we don't have graphics, things like that. So I'm just going to be talking here. Feel free to treat this like a podcast and just set your phone down or do whatever. So thanks. So with that being said, let's go ahead and dive into the first question that we have. Right off the bat, the devs did respond to a couple of questions that had been submitted ahead of time. The primary ones being around some of the upcoming events that we're looking for, ways to get nano cores, things like that. And by and large, these all kind of came into the same general bucket, and that is that if you have not been able to get a nano core from anywhere other than the Interstellar Bazaar, you should not expect to be able to get that nano core from anywhere other than the Interstellar Bazaar. There's going to be new DR coming. There are going to be some ones for small ships, which I'm really excited about. I think that's going to be good. I don't know why they didn't do that at the beginning. We'll have to see if those small ships are just sub-capitals versus capitals, or if they're actually going to be cruisers and frigates, things like that. Either way, the devs did say that there are going to be new implants coming and that there's going to be some exciting new rooms. I don't know if that means just different types of DR like the 4 we have now, or kind of how that's going to be working. It does also sound like there's going to be some modifiers, filaments, things like that. If you've played EO, my understanding is that those are ways to kind of gain access to dungeons again, kind of like what Dormant Realm is. So we'll see if that's the same as it is here, or same as it is in EO, or if this is going to be something a little bit different. Now, the other thing that was actually kind of interesting is they did highlight some of the new content that's going to be coming in January. Now, in January, they're going to be having an event where you're able to actually design your own ship and submit that to the dev team, and ultimately the winners may be able to actually get that ship into the game. Now, I'm kind of two minds about this. On one hand, I'm really excited. I think it's going to be awesome to see some of the creativity of the team, or of the community. But I am a little concerned, especially when we talk about some of the things that are that happen a little bit later in the call, where they mentioned that there are restraints and limitations on the dev team right now. I kind of like this, but I also kind of sit here and go, like, if we're already experiencing constraints, I feel like there were other things that I would rather have seen prioritized. But again, I could be completely wrong, and this may be an incredible event that jumpstarts us back into a number of other things. Now, the next thing that they did talk about with the new event is that there will be new drones, I think new fighters, T4 rigs, things like that. So it looks like they're really expanding and building out some of the modules and the variety that we have right now, so that we're able to get a little bit more utility and have a little bit more player choice, which I think is fantastic. It's also obviously going to create more demand, so there's going to be more opportunities for us to make ISK. Yay! Now, moving into some of the other questions, one of the first ones that Damon Zell actually asked was around moon mining. I'll let him cover that in more detail because I think he probably has a little bit better idea of what's going on. Short answer is that it is coming. It's on the roadmap. It's not going to be moon mining like it's in EO. It's going to be a simplified version, but it is going to give us something to fight over rather than just kind of the bragging rights of SOV right now, which is fantastic. I'm really excited about that. Next question was around an API. I think this is something that a ton of people have been asking for a long time. We've had to do some, workarounds and jerry-rigging, but the answer that the devs gave was basically that we're a little short-staffed, we're not sure if it's going to work, and there are privacy concerns around that. I struggle with this answer again because I look at things like the new event that they're coming out with, and again, while it is great to be able to say, hey, we can design our own ship, I do wonder if those resources and those development teams would have been better suited, at least from a community standpoint, in getting the API and really allowing us to get a little bit more utility out of the game. Again, we'll see what happens when January comes around, and if the event's awesome and amazing, then I'm going to eat my words, but that is something that I just kind of was scratching my head at a little bit. The other thing that they did mention was the privacy concerns. I don't really understand this one. In my day job, I am a cybersecurity consultant, and I deal a lot with privacy policies, privacy laws. I don't know what privacy policy they're struggling with. It sounds to me, especially since they have the Chinese server and the the international server. I say US, but it's really international. I do struggle a little bit with this one. I know that there's like GDPR and other things like that, but it's really not that hard to get around. So I don't see why that's a huge roadblock, especially when you can basically write whatever policy you want. People are going to agree with it no matter what. Either way, I don't know. It sounds like it's more of a development issue, but they did spend a fair amount of time talking about the privacy issue, so who knows. Some of the next questions, I'll let some of those creators talk about. I know Rambo, I think Damon Zell and Taylor Rick were talking about some of the faction carriers being released, how they were going to impact the game, how those mechanics are going to work. I think that Taylor Rick and Rambo might have covered that in some of the other or in their episode from last night. So if you haven't already, I'd recommend going and watching that. I think they probably have. I haven't had a chance to listen in. I was driving last night, so sorry. But with that being said, one of the key things that was brought up was the new player experience, and specifically the struggle that there was or that there is with the tech tree. I know that this is one that a lot of people are really having an issue with. We were actually talking about it, and I think it may have been Taylor Rick that actually brought this up on the call. The short version is that the tech tree is going to remain in place. There are going to be skill chips that allow you to bypass some of those early levels. I'm not a huge fan of this because there's a barrier to entry, and even if you say you have to buy the skill chips or do whatever, or you can buy the skill chips to really feel useful, I feel like a lot of players will say I need to buy that. I think that they're going to be expensive. If they may already be in the game. I haven't really looked, but it sounds like there's going to be some new ones coming out. So either way, it just doesn't feel great to me. I think that the skill tree really needs to be reworked still. I think that's something that every creator has been saying for a while, but who knows. Finally, we got into some of my questions, and that was around the faction war games and some of the instanced PvP, like the challenge mode and stuff like that. If you remember a couple of months ago, there was the ability to actually challenge your friends. It was a ton of fun. I love the 1v1 aspect of it. I wish that they would expand it. Unfortunately, that is going to be something that they only bring back on a cyclical basis. They said they don't really plan to make adjustments to it at this point. They may have something in the future, but in that specific challenge mode, it's going to be more of an event type of thing rather than a feature that's added. I don't really understand that. I don't get it. I think it's a miss on the devs' part. It's a ton of fun. It's great to test stuff out and give people access to ships capabilities without having some of the risks, so that they can figure out and fine tune before they take those ships into combat. But for whatever reason, it's not coming back, on a permanent basis. So in terms of faction war games itself and the ability to earn LP points, obviously this is going to be more and more important as we get new drones and blueprints for drones and whatever else. Unfortunately, guys, we're stuck with the same grind that we've had for a while now. They said that they are looking at developing new, or they're in design of a new mode or something like that. I forget what the exact wording was, but either way, they basically are not anywhere close to releasing a new mode. So for now, if you want to get those drones, you're going to have to just grind through and deal with all the bots and the multi-boxers and all of that stuff. So, sorry. Trust me, I'm with a lot of other people, including like Big Skillet, who was saying that was really, especially for streamers and stuff, that are content creators who are looking to create more on-demand content, as well as just regular players who want on-demand content. I feel like this was such an opportunity for the devs to help re-energize some of the player base, get people back in, get new players back in, or get new players in. It's just not a priority. And I don't really understand it for a mobile game. It feels off, but I'll get off my soapbox. Either way, let me know what you guys think. There were a lot of other conversations that were kind of going on. I've tried to cover the high points here. I think that's really kind of a lot of the main bullets. If you want more analysis or more detailed discussion on this, I'd highly recommend checking out Echoes from New Eden and Echoes from the Front if you haven't already. I'm sure that both Damon Zell and Rambo and Taylor Rick are going to be covering a lot of this stuff and really doing more of a deep dive. All of those guys have fantastic opinions. I watch their shows, listen to them, all of that. So I'd highly recommend it. If you haven't already, it's always a good time. With that being said, let me know down in the comments below what you guys are most excited about. If there's anything that you think, is a big miss from the devs, if you think that you're really excited for something, I'd love to hear from you guys and really be able to, again, just have a little bit more of a conversation here. With that being said, hope you guys all have a fantastic holiday season. Whether you celebrate or whether you're just trying to gear up for the new year, I hope that you guys have some time to rest and relax. If you're in the US, you're dealing with some of this weather that we're having. Stay safe, stay warm, and until next time, remember, kill marks last forever, and fly safe. Have a good one, y'all.